So this is ValorCraft Workshop. My name is Will, and I try to do a weekly Monday morning live stream, just sort of give a briefing for the week. And the process I follow has been I write on Substack on Fridays. I think about what I wrote a bit over the weekend, and then Monday use that as a jumping off point for this Monday morning live. And I didn't do one last week. So it's been a couple weeks. I was kind of getting in a good flow of this and really trying to refine this process of, think through the week, write on Friday, think through the weekend, talk on Monday, and then kind of the process keeps going and growing from there. But I find if I don't do it first thing Monday morning, and this isn't first thing Monday morning again, I don't think I've done it first thing this morning yet, but if I don't do it first thing, or if I don't do it on Monday in particular, then it tends not to happen. I know once I go to the shop in the morning, there's so many different things I need to get done there that the chance of me getting to this video in a timely manner is, the likelihood of me not recording goes up when I step into the shop. Not every week. If I do it first, I think it's good, but oftentimes I reprioritize on the spot, which isn't always a good thing. So, the shop's full of possibility, turns into distraction. I guess that's the flow of it. Shop's full of possibility leads to distraction, and then distraction turns into delay, and then delay turns into, oh crap, there's the backstop. I need to go pick up my family, and then it doesn't happen. And then I feel bad about it. And I keep trying to think, how am I going to fit it in during the week? How do you do a Monday morning live on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? And then again, doesn't happen. So I have to hit this thing first. Well, I don't have to. I think that's the point of this entire video. I choose to, and I recognize that. So this is kind of the first crack in that illusion of obligation. Like there's things that I feel I'm obligated to. I feel I have to do, whether there's an outside influence that made me think I have, or if it's a building that makes me feel like I have to do something. It's like renting that workshop, that 1,100 square feet. There's cost with that. And there's a sort of a built-in obligation to it too. Okay, well, if you're paying money to have this space and you've got tools and different resources in that space at your disposal, there's that obligation to, make money in that space using those items that are in that space, right? But in the end, I don't really have to, but I've chosen to, right? And I'll talk more about that. So the real reason, I guess, I'm not in the shop, there was some convenience of location because the VA clinic's just a couple miles from here and the shop is several miles from here. So certainly there was convenience. And Lowe's is nearby. Well, there's a bunch of Lowe's nearby for me to go pick up mine. That's not an endorsement of Lowe's, but in this case, I need to stop by Lowe's. All those things are in this location. But I've been honing in a lot of my discussion, or a lot of my internal discussion lately has been honing in on identity and, who am I? Who am I? Who am I in retirement? Who am I as a military retiree, veteran, maker, family man, businessman, philosopher? Who am I now in this chapter, post-military, over 32 years in the Army in various roles from, junior soldier through kind of, top of my program at the end of it. And having plans going into that retirement of what I was going to do just to make sure I didn't fall into a vacuum and just die, So I've been thinking a lot about this. And one of the big realizations is that my identity, or the identity of ValorCraft Workshop, it's not about the shop. It's not about the physical workshop at all. That space is my vehicle in the moment, at this moment, of how I deliver this content or how I'm thinking. It's sort of my framework for thinking, or the lens. I guess lens would be better than framework. It's the lens through which I'm thinking about what I'm doing now in this post-military time. So ValorCraft's not about the building. It's more about authorship, of me being in control of what I'm doing in that space or what I'm doing in my creative life, what I'm doing with my time. There's a constraint. We all have limited time. We all have the same amount of time daily, excuse me, same amount of time daily. We don't know how much time we have, going forward, right? So really wanting to have agency and authorship of what I'm doing. So ValorCraft's about authorship. ValorCraft's about identity. It's about, if you watch this at all, any of my videos, it's about head, hands, heart. That's the framework that I view things through, or that I process things through. What I think, what I feel, how I feel, and what it is I'm actually doing, what actions I'm taking. So this is post-military me figuring out who I am when I'm not defined by rank, by structure, by whatever assignment, whatever mission I'm on at the time. Yeah, that's what ValorCraft really is. Again, it's not about the shop. I always think about Lance Armstrong and his book, which I haven't read, I'll be honest, but it's not about the bike, So there's a mental game to any sport, and life's a sport too, right? So again, not about the shop. So what I realized, that chapter of my life, 32 years, over half my life, the majority of my adult life, and what'll probably end up being a third of my life overall, if I blessed to live to the ripe old age of nearly 100. It was, it was a very powerful time in my life. It was most of my adult life. It's kind of all I know. And so having that structure in place and all the problem sets that went with that and the different roles I was in, not the last 2 years, that was a different thing altogether, separate, my last command. But the 7 years prior to those was working in a staff position at a pretty high level, got to sit in a number of high level briefings at the Pentagon, a lot of frustration, so much frustration. But coming to the realization over this last year, I've been retired for 2.5 years now. Over this last year, especially, when I talk to people from my past work, most of them want to kind of like drag me back into all the woes of what's still going on in the program, or what happened in the program, from their perspective, which is fine. I'm glad to talk to people. I like reminiscing, but it reiterates, or it strengthens this motto I have that I use a lot lately, which is not my monkeys, not my circus. That was past, Will. That was for a good chunk of time, like I said, but that was in my past. That's not who I am now. That's not where I want to put my energy. So I politely listen. I share a few anecdotes, but I don't let it drag me in. I don't want to become part of that circus again, because it was a circus. It still is a circus. It's fun to hear about some of the struggles people are going through, but again, not my monkeys, not my circus. I'm gonna move on to a different show. So the big epiphany moment I had this weekend, and I can honestly, I can't even tell you what my essay was last Friday. I think it was about just focusing where I can have the most impact, where I put my energy to have the most impact. It might be what I wrote, it might not be. But what came from all this, I had this epiphany moment. Everything started making sense, because I've been managing one Substack called Moments of Will, and there's another YouTube page out there that I've thrown a couple of videos at that's more the personal version of Will, where ValorCraft Workshop was going to be more focused on the workshop and the maker and the creative Will. And I've always been struggling with how do these two, where's the line between these two? Like, what goes to ValorCraft, what goes to Moments of Will? And like, it didn't feel like it was an easy merger of the two, but it also wasn't easy to always delineate, to put one in one bucket or one in the other bucket. And so it all started making a little more sense this weekend. And I've taken so many notes on this, and just trying to dump ideas in writing. And a lot of it's gibberish still, and I'm still making sense of it. So there's so much material. I don't want to dump it all on you at once. So each week, through these Monday morning lives, I plan on taking one aspect of it, one structural idea. I'm calling these beams, just to keep it in I'm not building anything in particular. I'm not trying to use a metaphor of like I'm building a house or a tall building or whatever. It's just I'm building something. So beam sounded good because I know they're strong. They're structural pieces. Picturing like an I-beam. I'm picturing that photo of those guys building, I think it was the Empire State Building, where they're all sitting out there on a beam hanging, God, 100 stories above ground and eating their lunch. And then the more amazing picture is the picture of the guy taking the photograph in his suit and tie, or dress pants and tie. I don't think he has a suit jacket on, dress shoes, and just straddling this beam, standing there taking this photo. I'm afraid of heights. So, but that's what holds these buildings up, bro. These big beams. Anyway, I digress. So one beam at a time, talking about it, discussing it, letting it interact with the other ideas and seeing how they combine and how I refine them going forward. So this is kind of philosophical all day. Apologize if it's too much. And this is really what a workshop is. And this is my thought of in the workshop I have. I mean, the official name of my business is Arpeggio Workshop. Arpeggio is a term for broken chord. It's a musical term. So it's like each note of a chord being sounded separately, right? So the way I picture that in my shop is I do a lot of different things. I do woodworking, I do 3D printing, I do laser work. And I joked over the weekend to my wife that I said, if someone asks me what I do, I say I'm a solution designer. It's like, you got a problem, I'll take care of it for you. So it sounded like I was a gangster and I'm a hitman or something. No, I'm not, but it gets ideas in my head. Like, if you got a problem, send it my way. Maybe they call that a consultant. I don't know, but I'm glad to help you solve your problem. So like this current month, that's doing some signage for my Pilates instructor. It's doing a bathroom remodel, not a full remodel. I'm putting a vanity in, painting the walls, doing some trim work. So not a remodel, but again, problem, need this thing done. I've got skills to do that. I'll do that. Great. Da, 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 that kind of thing. So I'm not tied to one thing. And sorry, shut off my phone. So that's what a workshop is. It's a place for me to put all these different things in the same place, let them bounce off each other, let them interact, and see what grows from that, right? So the workshop's not a place. It's really a process. And if you've heard the term, like I go to workshops that aren't a woodworking shop, right? It's like a conference center. You go to a workshop, and there's the kind of the verb of that, workshopping something. Like, let's workshop that. Like, let's work through it. Let's throw all the ideas out there. And that's what I'm doing publicly on this stream here. Just checking my battery life. This does go down pretty quick. Nice. Does it say how long I've been? Yep, 23 minutes. Yeah. I'm going to kill this one. All right. So the first beam that I want to speak about today, and I'll touch on a couple other ones briefly, but I think the big epiphany moment, or the big epiphany moment was, I don't have to do any of this. It's like we put this weight on our own shoulders. I have to do this. I have to do that. I have to do that. But bottom line is I don't have to do anything. Like, I talked to my son this weekend too about just like stuff at school. It's like, you don't have to do your homework. You don't have to do your homework. Now, if you don't do your homework, there's some consequences that come with it, right? You may want to do your homework. You may not want to do your homework. You may choose to do your homework. You may choose not to do your homework, right? All these things. And there's different, got a little gnats around me. Bottom line is you don't have to do anything, right? And in my situation, like the null hypothesis of all this, if I think I use that term wrong, but the way I like to use it is I could just wake up each day and do nothing, and I'd be fine. I have enough money to survive, don't have to do anything. Now, I think I would turn into a blob and die a slow death if I just did nothing, right? But honest answer is I don't have to do anything. So I'm going to describe the framework that I'm now working through. I still use the head, hands, heart. That's always the umbrella over everything I'm doing. But this new concept of have, want, and choose, or have to do, want to do, and choose to do, or, need, want, choose, if you're talking about a physical item, right? So most pressure in my life comes from things that I say I have to do. But if I'm honest, I'd say I choose most of them. I choose all of them. And that was the other part of the discussion with my son is like, we make choices. We choose how we behave. We choose how we react to things. We choose our emotion. We choose, you know, what we do. Like, well, I have to go to school. I have no choice in it. Well, no, you do have a choice. You could just say, I'm not going. You could pretend like you're walking in the door and walk out the door and not tell us. Well, eventually we'll figure out you didn't show up, right? Then you'll have to go to school, right? There'll be other problems. But again, we have choice. We have agency. That's what makes it great being a human being. You have agency to do these things. So I choose to buy tools. I choose to build workshops. I've built workshop at most of the houses I've lived at over the last couple of decades, right? I choose to start YouTube channels or Substack channels or Instagram pages or whatever. I choose to take on projects, right? I don't have to do them. I've said yes and I've chosen to. Now, once I've said yes and I've committed to it, now I kind of have to, right? In my mind, when you commit to something, you do it. You know, commit to something and then pull out on it. So here's the framework that I'm running just about everything through now as I reevaluate where I'm at. Step one, I don't have to blank. I was hoping to have a dry erase board up behind me on this one. Maybe I'll add some graphics at a future date. We'll see. So step one, I don't have to fill in the blank. So this removes that illusion of obligation. Since I don't have to, there's no obligation on me. I don't have to do this, right? Even if it feels heavy on me or I chose it at some earlier point in time. Now, there are some have tos, like let's just take the workshop itself. I signed a lease. So in that sense, I have to pay my rent. Now let's challenge my own self on this right in front of you. I don't have to pay my rent. I could not pay my rent. And it says in the lease what happens if I choose not to pay my rent, right? So, but I've made a commitment. I'm renting it for this amount per month for this amount of time. So there's an obligation there, right? But when you start with, I don't have to blank, it's a reminder to yourself, like, you do have choice in this matter. You don't have to do this. That obligation is self-imposed or imposed by someone or something. But at the bottom of it is there is still choice, right? Step two, do I want to blank? So maybe an offer comes up. Hey, this happened to me recently. Oh, Will's great at this, that, the other, da, 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 da. You should hire him to do X, Y, Z. Person asked me, oh, do you do cabinets? No. Can I do cabinets? Yeah, I can. Am I going to? No. So I don't have to. Do I want to? No, I really don't want to do the cabinets. I don't want to open that can of worms. But I could say, yes, I do want to do cabinets. Okay, that's step two. Do I want to? We'll stick with the cabinet one. Yes, I want to. All right. Well, then the next step would be, do I choose to? Now, before we jump to that third step of choosing, we'll analyze want a little bit. So this isn't asking, should I do it? This is asking this is sort of a heart question, right? Of do I want to? Should I? This isn't asking, should I? This isn't asking, will it make money? This isn't asking for reasons why you want to do it or why you think you should do it, right? Will people approve of it if you choose to do this? This isn't asking other people's opinion. This is asking your opinion. Do you want to do whatever it is? And if you don't, then you should, even if you do, I guess you should ask this question. Why? Why do you want to do it? Why do I want to take on this project? I'm going to go off cabinets because cabinets are boring. Just pick anything. Why do you want to do this project? Why do you want to? Now, is it ego? Is it because you want to prove to someone, probably yourself, that you can do it? Do you're trying to prove to others I can do everything? Or are you really proving to others that I can fail at lots of stuff if I take on too much, right? Now, if you say, I don't want to do it, you should also ask why. Why do you not want to do it? Go to homework. I don't want to do my homework. Well, why not? Well, because it's boring and I don't want to, whatever. I would rather do other things, whatever. Or for myself, why do you not want to do this project or that project? Because sometimes it's I don't want to fail, even though if I think I can do it, sometimes jumping into that deep end on something, it's like, yeah, it's like, I'm not 100% sure I can do it. And now I've obligated myself to something and it's like, I really don't want to do it because like I'm going to be exposed that I'm a fraud or something like for even making these videos. Like there are strong reasons not to want to make these videos because there are going to be people out there that go, dude, what are you talking about? You're a loser. Why do I care? Watch, like, then turn the channel away. Go away. Don't watch. That's fine. Failing in public is not a comfortable thing. So there's great reasons not to want to do something. So is it hard to do? That'd be a reason why you may not want to do something. You're afraid of failing, or maybe it doesn't align with who you are or where you're going anymore. I think that becomes a big thing. Now, step 3. So step 1, I don't have to. Recognizing that you don't have to do anything, right? Step 2, analyzing, asking the question first, do you want to do it? Do you not want to do it? And then why? Why do you want to do it? Or why do you not want to do it? Or why not? Step 3, I choose to blank, or I choose not to, right? This is authorship. And here's the nuance. So I may want to do something and still not choose to do it. Timing is wrong, conflicts with something else I'm doing. There's another concept I'll talk about, self first. It's kind of about being selfish in a good way. It might conflict with this idea of what feeds me. So even though I want to do it, if it's not adding to that final product of me, then it should be a no. Now, I may not want to do something and still choose to do it. Again, like I may not want to do my homework, but I'll still choose to do it because the ramifications, the consequences of not doing it are less pleasant than doing it, right? Or in the case of the workshop, it builds a discipline. It may be trying something new. I don't really want to do it. It looks challenging, looks hard, but in the end, I'm going to learn a new skill, right? Or it builds discipline of like starting a project and finishing a project, which there's big wins from that too. Or yes, I don't enjoy doing this one, but it's got a pretty high return on, profit margin. So I'm going to do it because it provides for my family, or I say provides for my family. When I talk about the shop, kind of makes me laugh a little bit because it's not providing for anybody right now financially, but it helps offset costs, which is a good thing. Or because, I may choose to do it anyway because it strengthens who I am or who I'm becoming. So the difference, it's not I have to, right? But I choose to, I own it now. I have agency. I'm the author of it. Now I write the story from there. I've chosen to do it, going to do it. I write what happens next. An example, if I want to build strength, if I want to be healthy, I choose to go to the gym and train with a personal trainer, right? Because I've made that choice. It's very different from, oh, I have to go to the gym. I have to go to the gym. I'm obligated to go to the gym. I'm paying this fee to go to the gym, so now I have to go to the gym. No, I chose to pay the fee. I could choose not to pay the fee. And consequence of that is, well, I'm not allowed to go to the gym, right? So I've made a choice to do these things. So that's the big part of the meal this week, I guess, is have to, want to, choose to, and having this realization that if you just start with understanding you don't have to do anything, step 1, just saying it out loud. I don't have to fill in the blank. Just saying out loud frees you from so much obligation. It clears so much headspace. It did for me. And then it makes you become deliberate about your reasoning behind your choices. So going through step 2, want. Do I want to? Do I not want to? Why do I want to? Why don't I want to? It reveals a lot of stuff, which helps you make that decision then of, okay, now I choose to, or I choose not to. That's the crux of it. It could be a book all of its own. Maybe it will be one day. Maybe it'll just be a chapter. We'll see. But this is one of those ideas that I plan on throwing in throughout the next several weeks and let it bounce around with these other ideas. See how they interact. See what comes of it. See how I refine each of these steps. So the next one, kind of higher level topic that I've been thinking about is a concept that I'm calling self first. So I used to talk about being selfish. I think I read a book. It was like The Art of Selfishness, or The Art of Being Selfish, and whatever it is I read, maybe it was an article, I don't know. It reframed selfishness in a way that I felt very good about. Like, I think it's okay to be selfish. There's a good way to be selfish. There's a bad way to be selfish. In the good way, it's putting yourself first. And so that's why it's very easy to coin this term if I did coin it, or maybe it's pretty obvious to everybody. I just think I coined it. But putting yourself first, I mean, this really flows along with you're on an airplane and they tell you when the masks fall, put your mask on first before helping others, because you can't help others if you didn't take care of yourself first, right? So this isn't selfish in the negative sense. I still believe selfishness is good, can be good, but in the common understanding of the word, because you don't always get, once you say selfish, some people have already added the definition to it from their framework, and you don't get a chance to explain the difference in how you're using it versus how they understand it, right? So, but if I were to say to someone something about being self first, since they haven't heard the term before, they may stop me now. Oh, what are you talking about? Okay, now I can tell them about putting yourself first. So I'm workshopping this idea of self first thinking. It's structural. You know, you hear a lot of people, it's sort of a cliche to go like, oh, I put my family first. I put my this first. I put my job first. I put my blah. And it's like, no one who's a success at anything truly puts anything else first before themselves. Again, not a bad thing, but you have to have that realization of what it is you're doing. If I put others first, I can't really be of support to them. So, and we'll take family in there because, again, that's the cliche answer of, oh, I always put my family first. It's always my family first. Like, I'm so selfless that I put my family first and everything. No, you don't. Family doesn't sit above self. Now, here's the weird little twist on this. Self sits underneath everything. Now, wait. Now, if family isn't sitting above self, how is self underneath everything? Well, it's underneath everything in the sense of it's the foundation of everything you do, everything you support. You're the foundation of that from your perspective in your world. Like a house of cards. If I'm that bottom level, if I collapse, everything collapses, right? And if I put it back at my hands heart framework, then we're talking about 3 legs of a stool. And if one of those legs is missing, the whole, the stool falls over, right? Or if one's way shorter than the other 2, it's leaning, and then things fall off of it. So you have to have this balance between head, hands, heart, which is, for me, that's myself. So if I don't put self first, if I don't balance those 3 legs of that stool, everything above that, or everything supported by that, family, work, other obligations I've chosen to take on outside of the community band that I play with. I don't have that many commitments outside of those things, but all those things crumble. All those things tumble if I don't put myself first. So if those things aren't aligned, those 3 legs of the stool, the head, hands, heart, they're not aligned, nothing else holds. This isn't indulgence, this isn't self-indulgence. It's really integrity in knowing myself, putting myself first, and being very deliberate in what I do. So next concept that I'll be discussing a lot. Past choices don't obligate future versions of me. Just because I chose something at one point in time, it doesn't mean I'm required to keep choosing the same way or with the same intensity or the same intent. Like, you take a decision that happened in time. We make decisions based off of the information we have at hand, context of time and space and family circumstances, or, a number of different aspects go into decisions that we make. It's really hard to just do a black and white, like, oh, if this happens, then this is the answer. Yeah, maybe that's the answer, but maybe it's more nuanced than that, right? So past will post-dated some checks for future will to pay. Well, now I'm present will. I was once future will, but now I'm in the present. And now, those bill collectors are asking me to pay up, right? Based off of things that past will chose. So I have agency though. Again, this goes back now to I don't have to do anything. So just because past will said so, present will doesn't have to do that. So I'm able to reevaluate it and go, does this still serve me? Does this still work for me? Does this still work in the context of what I'm doing now? Does this work in the context of where I'm headed or where I'm thinking I'd like to head, right? So this doesn't lead to panic decisions. This is just gives me things to analyze. It gives me permission to second guess what previous version of me decided, right? So on my lease at the shop, on the equipment I own, like, do I want to renew a lease? Do I want to extend a lease? Do I want to see about ending my lease early or subletting it or whatever? Equipment. Do I want to buy new equipment? Do I want to sell old equipment? Do I want to change out everything? Do I want to shift from a woodworking focus to a 3D printing focus to a laser focus to a get rid of all of it? I've got permission to make these decisions now based on where I am, where I'd like to go to do all these, what direction I'm headed, what structure I'm framing all this within, all my choices. So I'm not making any declarations today. I'm not working through all of this live yet, but I'm just laying out some of these concepts that again, I spent a lot of time this weekend really thinking through some of these things, or at least jotting down some of these ideas. And that's what I'm sharing with you now. So that realization that present will has authorship and agency in all of what I do. That's the important point of that. Next topic, a little line I came about that I developed, that I wrote, popped in my head. I accumulate obligations. How do I write it? I accumulate obligations like I accumulate tools. If I see a tool I don't have, whether it's in the workshop, whether it's in the kitchen, utensil, like a single purpose type of tool, boy, I love those kinds of things. I like having the right tool for the job. But the thing is, you don't have to have all of them, right? But again, the point of this, I accumulate obligations in the same way as I accumulate tools. It's so easy for me to say yes to things. And that's something I'm trying to get better at. But with a new tool or a new technique, it's like a tool whispering at you, like, you could build this. If only you had this tool, right? Obligations do the same thing. Oh, I could do that. I could build that. I can make those cabinets for you. No, but I don't want to make the cabinets for you, right? But I could. And then once you say, yes, I could do that, now it's an obligation that you have. And it's, it's another tool collecting dust. That potential of doing something becomes pressure to do that thing, particularly if you've already bought the tool or you've kind of built up this anticipation for others, like, oh, I'm going to do this. Lots of pressure comes with that. And I've been talking a little bit about this 80-20 rule and the Pareto principle. The Pareto principle is like 20% of your efforts lead to 80% of the effect, or 80% of the impact or output. I've been applying a little bit different of like, you can't give yourself 100% to anything. So you kind of take that, if you split up the pie in different things, I've got family obligations, I've got work or workshop obligations, whatever. And I just take that one slice of that and go, okay, in that area, if I just take the work life area, for me, that's the workshop, say, I can put 80% of effort toward one big thing. Like, what's the one big thing? No one can put 100% toward it because you got other things you have to do. But if I put 80% effort toward that one thing, let's say I made it the 3D printing or the ducks, I put 80% effort toward that. And that leaves me 20% effort in that area for all the other stuff, right? But what I tend to do is like, oh, I'm going to go 80% effort on custom woodworking. I'm going to go 80% effort on the What the Duck Toy Company. I'm going to go 80% effort on the laser work, ValorCraft workshop. I can't put 80% there. And I'm writing checks. I'm overdrafting my effort account, right? So accumulating those obligations has led me to that overdraft of time and my energy. Just because I can doesn't mean I should. I've said this before, something else I'm working on. So these are things I'll continue to talk about in the coming weeks, the 80-20 recalibration, how I apply the Pareto principle to things, not doing things just because I can, all of that, because I accumulate those obligations. And so I've also discussed February, first part of March, really first week of March is about subtraction. Hopefully I can get all that in. I haven't made much headway on selling off some old camera equipment and a few other tools that I'm not using right now. But the intent's there, and it's going to come. But I am doing a better job with in the idea space and obligations and finishing up some projects that I signed on to many months ago, bringing them all to a close so that they're done. And it gives me a clean slate late March into April to test this theory of the addition by subtraction. So by finishing some projects, by getting a clear picture of what it is I plan on obligating myself to in the future, what products I'll be making, honing, getting rid of some product lines that just take up time and don't have the greatest profit margin on, and don't feed my soul in any way whatsoever. Getting rid of. All right. So again, I don't remember exactly where I left off there, but I'm going to test this idea of addition by subtraction. Rest of February, beginning of March, I'm still finishing up projects, getting rid of stuff that's in my way, uncluttering my mind on some things, and having a clearer view going forward, end of March, into April, into May, before I go on summer vacation for a couple of months, to gain some real clarity and hoping to see greater returns by reducing the effort, reducing the clutter. So this is where I start to apply a Pareto principle. So if I can get it down to where I'm putting 20% effort, but it's really focused on high impact items, I should get that 80% return. That's what I'm hoping for in March, April, really going into May. Next concept, workshop versus workshopping. So ValorCraft workshop, again, it's not about the shop. I think when I first started, I really thought it was. I thought it was going to be a do-it-yourself DIY channel, showing how to do projects, different stuff. And it hasn't really been that. I even thought it was like, hey, people are going to want to watch me build this workshop. And what people have really seen from the very beginning, hey, give us the shop tour. It's like, I'm not ready for that because it's not clean. And it's just gotten messier and more cluttered. So I'm not willing to do that shop tour just yet. And maybe by the time I actually have it set, it'll be time to leave the shop behind. I don't know. But that's not what it ended up being. ValorCraft Workshop really meant me and workshopping these things, testing ideas, prototyping identity, iterating publicly in front of you, doing videos like this where I'm thinking out loud. There's the dog. Circling back through these processes as I learn new things or I let different concepts interact with each other, and moving forward with new ideas from that, realigning my priorities and my direction going forward. Speaking of forward, failing forward too, like I have no problem saying something here and a week later going, hey, you know what, I was totally wrong on that. Or I'm still kind of recalibrating my thoughts around an idea. No problem doing that live. In fact, I hope I get some feedback from people of not just, hey, you're an idiot, but things like, hey, I've struggled with that too, or I went through that similar situation. Here's how I handled it. I mean, ultimately, what really wanted to do was build some community of other people I'm sure I'm not the only guy, post-military career, having a creative spirit and struggling with figuring out who I am now in this new unstructured life, or trying to put a structure in to a place. Like, do I renovate the structure, or do I flatten it and do a complete rebuild? I don't know. Like, these are things I'm working through. And unfortunately, as you're thinking through things, it's easier to say, here's what I have right now, and keep remodeling, and you end up with Frankenstein's monster at the end of all that. So sometimes maybe you have to do you know what, we're going to knock down the east wing of the White House to rebuild it completely. I don't know. So maybe it's not a complete raising, maybe it's a partial raising and rebuild. But I'm doing that in front of you in hopes that you give me some feedback and help me through this as well. This is design thinking applied to myself. and that's the shift I've got in my head from workshop to workshopping these ideas. So the shop, the physical space may stay, it may go, it may change, it may become a 3D printer farm. I may extend the lease. I may look to shorten the lease. I may look to just end the lease. I don't know. But that's all secondary because the core idea of all this, the core work of all this is internal anyway. So the workshop is here. And I've said this before, I've pointed at my head and said, this is ValorCraft Workshop, and this is ValorCraft Workshop. This is ValorCraft Workshop, head, hands, heart. That's the framework I've been working in. So I have understood that it's not about the workshop, physical space, but I still need to remind myself of that often because it's easy to keep falling back into that thinking. So moving forward, this is going to move in squiggly lines. Again, I wish I had a dry erase board up behind me to show this, the steps I'm working through. Each time I say, I don't have to do blank, to do I want to do blank? Do I not want to do blank? Do I choose to do blank? Do I not choose to do blank? That's not the end of the story on it. It's like I can decide the next day to reevaluate it. So as I work through all these different steps and put it through different frameworks, head, hands, heart, all the different frameworks that I think with, I can be moving stepwise through it and then go, you know what, this needs to go back here. Or I'm prototyping, I ideate, I'm prototyping, rapid prototyping, find some mistakes, get feedback on it, go back, re-prototype, come up with a new version, 2.0, 3.0, whatever, and keep going back before it finally gets to that final product. And when you're talking about a person and your own mind and your own drive and your own goals, do you ever really get to that final place? I don't think you do, right? So this is always going to be an iterative process. It's always going to be that game of chutes and ladders. You're going up the ladders, and there's going to be times you're going to hit the chutes and have to go, back down. It's not always a negative thing. Sometimes it's good to hop on that chute and go all the way back to the beginning and see where you're at, see where you want to go, and find a different path or find a better way to take the same path. So I'm going to be revisiting the different structural beams that I've been talking about. I'm going to contradict myself. Surely I'll contradict myself. I've contradicted myself throughout this too long YouTube live. I'm going to refine my language around these topics, around these structural beams a lot because I like to write and I would like to put all this in a more consolidated, aggregate it into an ebook or something, maybe even. I don't think I'm going to do a course. I don't want to get into all that, but blogging right now works. But eventually I think I can put this into something useful to others. So I'll be iterating on all of this. This isn't a grand rebranding. It's not like, oh, I shouldn't call it ValorCraft Workshop. I should call it something else. It was a realization that I can merge the moments of Will with ValorCraft Workshop because they are one and the same. It isn't just a black line between, solid line between this. It is a gray squiggly line that separates ValorCraft and me personally, kind of as all one and the same, but not a grand rebrand overall. Just clarity emerging here in public, for you to watch. All one of you to watch. So in closing, if I were to say in closing, I hate that. I don't have to do this channel. I don't have to do anything, right? I choose to. And that really changes everything for me. So this is ValorCraft Workshop. This is ValorCraft Workshop. This is ValorCraft Workshop. This is ValorCraft Workshop. I don't have a flag to point to. That's ValorCraft Workshop too. That's the framework I work within. And I'll talk to you again next week.